Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, it's those things that live in the abstract, which can just be truly fucking terrifying. And guess what? If you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go on a limb and assume that you do, because you're listening. And if you are listening, keep listening and subscribe. Hit the old subscribe button. Give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere. Places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Letterboxd, the TikTok, the Threads, the Blue Sky, the I'm losing track because there's too many, but we're in the seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, let's visit us over at intheseats.ca for all the latest and the greatest from the world of film, television, and the moving image at large. Because you know what, when we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, and we love it all that much more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that ultimate kindness, come on by and pay us a visit. Coming to TVO this Sunday and then available on the TVO Docs YouTube channel as well as TVO.org is a chilling documentary from one of my favorite Canadian documentary filmmakers, Ann Shin. It's called Dangerous Games, Roblox and the Metaverse Exposed. And it's an investigation of these platforms which are designed for fun and connection, like Roblox and Minecraft, but they've become these wildly unregulated spaces that can be and are, being exploited by predators, extremists, hate groups, and even worse. And it's this film really shows, much like the curse of modern technology, how the metaverse and these platforms are evolving faster than the laws and the safety measures can keep up with it, and how the companies who set up these platforms are leaning more towards the money side of things and the engagement side of things rather than looking after children and people. It's it's absolutely disturbing, and I mean I'm a sheltered white guy in the middle of the downtown Toronto who doesn't game much, so I didn't know a lot about this, but this is really a wild film. And I mean, we had the pleasure of sitting down not only with filmmaker Ann Shin, whose work you may know from previous films that she's done, like The Defector, Artificial Immortality. It's she does it. She knocks it out of the park here again, and we talked with her, and also one of the subjects of the film, Alex, who is a metaverse safety advocate and online content creator who is working hard to help shut down these predators and make the metaverse a fun space again. And she uses her platform for good, which for a young person, hey, that's a good thing, and I like that a lot. But we talk with Anne and Alex just about making the film, the trappings of the metaverse and the internet and these games, and how we really need to educate ourselves, because the reality is we can't put the genie back in the bottle, and it's just going to be a question of learning how to adapt and keep ourselves safe and keep our loved ones safe as the rising tide of technology keeps coming towards us and towards us. It's a fascinating film. Like I said, it's going to debut on TVO this coming Sunday, May 25th. It'll also be on their YouTube channel and streaming platforms immediately afterwards. But first, enjoy our talk with director Ann Shin and Metaverse safety advocate Alex, because it's a darn good conversation, and honestly an important one too. So please check it out.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Ann, nice to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for interviewing us.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I mean, just obviously to kick this off officially, I mean, Ann, Alex, I just want to thank you, obviously, both so much for the time today. And because I mean, I got to watch the movie last night, and well, it took me a minute to get to sleep. I'm not gonna lie. It's and you have this habit of finding these terrifying terrifying rabbit holes to go down. And I mean, I knew the metaverse existed. I knew kind of what it was, but seeing the film was sort of brought it to a different level for me. And I mean, I'm kind of curious, what sort of brought this story to your front door, to your sort of your desk, as it were?
So Erica Lindertz, the producer, her kids were playing Roblox, and she started reading up on it and was finding out stories of like child predators and extremists active on Roblox. So then she and I went into just checking it out, and like within a couple minutes, we were finding ourselves in like a sexual den, like an S&M sexual den. there were uh, there were like Nazi kind of games that recreated Nazi concentration camps.
Oh my God.
And so yeah, it was really alarming. And recently there have been experiences or games that recreate mass shootings. So yeah, it was quite alarming. And we thought, oh my God. And then we found that there were some lawsuits being launched against Roblox, and we thought, wow, there's, someone needs to shed a light on this.
100%. Now, I mean, Alex, can you like for the middle-aged guy who thought this was nothing more than a video game? Can you kind of walk me through what the metaverse is and what Roblox is in sort of a simplistic way?
Yeah, so Roblox, think of it as the Lego of video game world, right? You can make anything you want with it. You can literally make anything. You want to make a Call of Duty type game, you can make that. You want to make mini games like Mario Party, you can make that, right? It's
Right.
so endless, and I would describe it as a game with games on it. I think that's the best way to describe Roblox. And all of the content in Roblox is made by users like myself. So Roblox themselves barely makes any content for their own platform.
That's wild. That's absolutely wild. And I mean, I'm curious, Alex, when did you sort of feel the need to, I guess, be an activist? Because I mean, at the same time, you just, you're going on, you want to have some fun, you want to interact with your friends, but it's at some point I can imagine that like enough is enough, and it's like I mean, I almost feel bad that you need to be an activist on this front, but I mean, I'm kind of glad that you're there for this because it's one of those things where I was like I said to Ann, like pretty like 95% oblivious to what actually was going on.
Right. So my activist work started when I was around 15, 14, because I saw a lot of these bad actors and predators essentially targeting my friends. And there was no one to really speak up for me, right? Because there was corporations, but again, corporations don't really do anything. Like we've emailed them, we've tried to contact them, and every time we do, we're met with automated responses. So I decided to do something about it and actually take it to lawmakers, press, all that kind of stuff, because this is important work that needs to be shared. And I originally started like sort of investigating into predators and sending the evidence to authorities and National Center for Missing and Exploited Children around that time when I was a teenager. Yeah, because it piqued my interest and it was really something that I wanted to cover because it meant a lot to me, the cause, right? I'm a gamer and I just want the spaces to be safe.
100%. And I mean, Anne, can you talk to me a little bit about sort of meeting up with Alex for the first time? Because, I mean, even in the film, as you guys show, just sort of the idea of how you have to record evidence and present evidence has to be done very sort of meticulously because it's, again, we're kind of in the digital Wild West and it's way too easy to fake. Can you walk me through sort of, I guess, being led down that rabbit hole of being able to find sort of evidence to be able to really show the world what's happening in these places?
So is it about finding the evidence or finding Alex?
A bit of both. I mean, I would say
Okay.
finding Alex, but also just sort of understanding the need to not just find evidence, but to find it in this very sort of particular way. And I mean, not
Yeah.
just a screenshot, it has to be like a streaming video kind of thing, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Tanika, like Alex had, we found Alex really quickly because she had a strong following and she was doing really interesting videos and releasing them, calling out predators that were active on platforms like Roblox. And so we got to talking with her and we were so completely impressed with her, like just her knowledge of what was going on and her ability to communicate to to kids as well as adults, and her her chutzpah and her drive to get this message out there. So we were fans of Alex right away. And in terms of recording what's happened, like we knew that people needed to see what was going on to understand what the threat is for young gamers on these platforms. But at the same time, we didn't want to unnecessarily traumatize them
Right.
by showing stuff that's really awful. And
Right.
so there was that fine line of trying to collect videos. And there are a lot of video gameplay videos on YouTube already in the public realm. So a lot of this is out there already. And Alex, I think, should talk more specifically about the way she would record gameplay or whatever to document illegal or bad behavior on the platforms. Alex, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so I run a big Roblox news account. It has about 1 million followers. It's called Roblox underscore RTC. And initially, what we would do, and we still do this to this day, is we document a lot of these cases that Roblox refuses to cover because it makes their brand look bad, essentially. And what we do is we document these cases, and because of our big audience, we're able to get the word out, which is the first step. The first step is calling out these people, and then the next step is gathering the proper evidence. So using screenshots actually isn't a good way because obviously in the world of AI, everything can be faked. So we need screen video, and then initially we get details, and then we forward that to places like National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. We've used them a lot, particularly for their quick report feature. Honestly, anyone can use it, and then we also forward that info to the police. So that's in particular how I started doing this sort of activism work.
How do you push past the fear of reprisal when you're doing something like this? Because I mean, it's a thing where you're trying to sort of bring order to the chaos, and I mean, I can imagine there have been people who have threatened to come after you or harm you and harm your family in terms of, for, I mean, for God knows what, but it's just one of those things. Like, how do you sort of, in doing the work, manage to sort of push past sort of the selfish instinct to maybe unplug and just walk away from it, to know, to be like, no, I got to do this so it can get done and we can have our fantastic space back? Because it's one of those things where I can imagine for you as the filmmaker to get the people to appear on camera to even talk about it would have been sort of a very distinct challenge.
Yes, it was challenging to get Katie to feel okay about talking about or sharing her story on camera.
Mm.
She felt compelled to. She was groomed and harassed by the child predator who was eventually arrested and convicted on charges of child trafficking and other charges. And she wanted to get her story out there. And she did so originally anonymously with Quentin Smith, the People Make Games journalist. So that's where she started sharing her story over a phone call and didn't reveal her face or her real name. But as we spoke with her, and we were an all-woman team, and we talked to her about the work Alex was doing and how this film was about gamers and young people getting their stories out there, she became much more impassioned about stepping forward and telling her story. And so we, as documentary filmmakers, there's a lot of things we take into consideration. Not like the duty of care in terms of being careful about how a story is told, what we ask of participants, and to make sure that it's not causing them to relive a trauma to share the story, but also duty of care to the audience as well, and all. And so those were the things in our minds as we spoke with Katie. And sure enough, it just became a real rewarding experience for her to be part of the filming process, to talk about her experience, to talk with Alex and Janae and meet them, and to together work towards pinpointing and finding this guy who eventually the FBI arrested.
Honestly, with a lot of this work, I started this work because of the people I helped, right? And
Yes.
seeing it in real life with Katie and this whole experience of filming this documentary, even the journey of even starting our investigation into doc, seeing that it helped real people really helped to motivate me keep going. Because I was threatened a lot for this work, particularly by doc supporters, and even the work I did otherwise to stop predators and bad actors from joining the community. I was very much threatened. I was doxxed on the internet. I would have threats sent to me. I had weird things sent to me. My address was leaked, my postal code was leaked, and I had to get police involved. It was a very scary time, and I do talk about this in the documentary.
Yeah.
How a lot of like this was a very hard time for me because it brought me a lot of depressing thoughts, right? I talk about in the documentary how this stuff gets real. And I think a lot of people have to realize that the internet is a very real thing and that it doesn't just affect people on the internet, right? It affects people real. And I think that's really the story that we tried to put forth with this documentary is that it's not just an internet thing. There are real world consequences to the internet. And I think that goes both positively and negatively.
100%, 100%. I mean, Anne, there's almost a bit of a thread here in this subject with so many of your other films, even going back to Defector, and it's making sort of what we kind of perceive as unknown known, making sort of that abstract real. What is it
Yeah.
about that draws you to sort of the filmmaking process, the storytelling process in general?
Thanks for asking that. Like I've always been drawn to the underdog story and feel compelled to try and make sure that the underdogs of this world, their stories get told because they're very important and you know and are compelling. And as soon as people hear them, I think they point to pressing issues that people might not be aware of otherwise. And so with the defectors, it was truly like people underground
Right.
that I was following, and we were filming undercover with them as they were escaping through China at the peril of being like arrested and deported back to North Korea. Um, we would be kicked out to Canada, but the defectors obviously would have been reported to North
Right.
Korea. With this one, it really felt like we were in the underground in a different way, like in the Stranger Things kind of way. Like there was
Yeah,
this
totally,
whole
totally.
other world I didn't know about, and it's right like it's like the shadow world of our world. And so, you know, Roblox is a platform that has 100 million users every day now. It's just in the last year, the membership has expanded 30%. And if you think about it, it's like a bunch of mega cities linked together and like whole metropolises of people doing stuff together. Like, and there's, scary inner city stuff going on and underground stuff going on that's like even scarier than real life. And so it's been quite an eye-opening experience to have the, privilege to work with people like Alex and Janae and Katie who know this world and to invite us into it. And they showed us everything, like the wonderful stuff about it, as well as the scary stuff that should be monitored and regulated by our law enforcement and enforcement authorities, as well as the platforms and also the users.
Now, I mean, just to start putting a bow on this, and I want both your perspectives on this, because when you bring this to law enforcement, to governments, I've always seen sort of in various stories that'll be like, oh, well, just unplug it. We can put the genie back in the bottle, and so on and so forth. But the reality is, when it comes to technology and when it comes to the internet, you kind of can't. So my question for both of you is regulation the fix? Is just sort of fighting against the rising tide the fix? Because I mean, there is no putting the genie back in the bottle with something like this. Like, how do you sort of turn it into something at least that could be positive?
I think it's threefold, and I'll let Alex take over. I don't know if you want to answer first, Alex, but I think it's threefold. It's law enforcement and judiciary, and then the platforms regulating the industry, as well as users and parents and families. We all have to work together. But Alex, do you want to answer his question?
Yeah, sure, I'll chime in. I think it's really a group effort for me. I think it's definitely about grassroots organization. It's not necessarily about vigilantism, I don't think.
Right.
There's a lot of those in Roblox who think that they can just expose predators. And
No, you want to do the work, but do it the right way.
Yeah, you want to do the work, but you want to do it the right way. And I think the best way to do it is by contacting law enforcement.
No, 100%. I agree
Yeah.
with you on that.
So, I mean, so yeah, we need the laws so that it's clear that certain activities are illegal in the, in the metaverse, so that crimes can be those crimes can be, what would you say? They can be targeted and
They can be
look,
properly handled and actual
yeah,
justice in real life is served, right?
yeah, yeah. So we need the laws to be put in place. And there's a bit of problem that there've been some problems. There've been bills that have been tabled in Canada and the US. And because like censoring child porn or other kinds of activity could also lead to censoring other kinds of material for political motivations, there have been lobby groups who have prevented those bills from getting passed because of that. For instance, like if the argument is if platforms are censoring material, deeming it to be like inappropriate for kids, where's the line before they start censoring other material because they're in disagreement with it politically?
Right, right.
Yeah. So that's just a window into why it's been so slow, why law has been so slow in catching up here, because of that. And then the platforms, at least there should be regulations that hold platforms accountable to have certain number of human moderators in and amongst all their millions of users so they can see the kinds of exchanges going on. Like if an avatar is assaulting another avatar and humping them, like that activity has to be stopped. But it's happening everywhere in the Roblox right now because there aren't enough human moderators, regulating that sort of thing, or even the chat groups within Roblox. So that's regulations for the platforms need to be in place. And then, the last frontier or the final kind of frontier is the home frontier where parents could be playing games with their kids and getting a good sense of like, who are the kids chatting with? What experiences are they going into? Like, what the frick is this game anyway? What is this world? And that if parents are playing with their kids in the way that they'd be kind of like throwing the ball after supper, or like throwing the ball to one another out in the park, or um I don't know, playing a game of Monopoly back in the day. If they play these games with the kids, they'll know if the kids are safe or not. So that's why I think it's a threefold thing that in which we all need to address this.
Well, and education too. It's one of those things. I mean, when I think of it, when someone says, "Oh, this is a game," I think of Super Mario Brothers or Donkey Kong. This is not that. This is something completely different.
Yeah, 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 it is. Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
But I mean, Ian, I mean, both of you just thank you for the work, and I mean, thank you for just taking the time today. Because I mean, again, like I said, I didn't know a lot about this, but just in seeing the film, I was horrified, but I mean, I was fascinated too. Because again,
Yeah,
it's one of those stories that feels like people need to hear,
yeah,
because just again, as we get more and more technologically advanced, we have to keep our information levels up as well. We can't just sort of ignore it.
yeah. And this is just like, the canary in the coal mine or the thin edge of the wedge. Like,
Totally.
we're more and more our lives are being done in the metaverse, and this is like these are the first signs of like how rampant crime is in the metaverse. And so we need to catch up and get it checked. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Anne, Alex, keep up the good work. And just again,
Thank
thank you for
you.
the time today. I really appreciate this.
Thanks so much, David. Really great talking with you.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
Dave. Great talking
Bye,
with you.
bye everyone. And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.